Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we just wrapped up our hour-long look at the Xbox One, and we spent a lot of time kind of going through all the stuff, and you can watch that broadcast, which I'll be uploading in better quality in a little bit. But you know what? I think we were left with this, at least Ken Gagne and I were left with this, is that it doesn't feel like there's a lot to talk about. And it's a, it's a cool system. It's certainly a lot bigger than the current Xbox. It generates a lot more heat, mainly because it's got a lot more power. But as with all of these new game consoles, whenever they first come out, it takes a really long time for the games to catch up and for developers really to make good use of it. I'm going to pop in and just kind of show you a few things with it. I will say, and I'll just cut my camera over here to the Kinect, which is a much more robust device than it used to be. It works really well, the Kinect especially. The voice recognition works. It very creepily figured out who I was when I told it who I was, but when I walked in the room, it knew who I was and it loaded up my profile. That stuff works. It's really cool. But it kind of creeped me out when the thing was off and I walked in and it turned itself back on. So a little bizarre there, but yeah, we stepped through it, and the graphics are really nice on it. I can pull up a couple of games here. So let's pull up our screen. I've been talking all night, so I'm getting a little talked out here. But let me just load my controller up here real quick. I had to reactivate it because it fell asleep. So we'll look at some games here first. The Killer Instinct is a freebie that you can download off of the Microsoft Store. And by the way, you might see my display kind of cut out every once in a while. I have a scaler running in between this, so it works with my video switching hardware. And I've got a little bit of a problem, and I'm not sure what it is just yet. So I'm going to have to play around with that a little bit more. But the load times on this thing have been driving me nuts. I could forgive it on the old console for some of the newer games that are really involved and have a lot of things going on. But this thing, it's just it's button push and wait for this menu to come up and then go through the next thing. And it looks good when you finally get there. But you can see this is actually indicative of both games that I've tried. I've tried. Excuse me, hit the wrong button there. I tried this and Dead Rising 3, and both of them, just the load times were really kind of aggravating. But we'll do a quick local play here and do a versus mode versus the computer, and you can just see what some of the graphics are here. So we'll pick our character here. I think this is the only one we can use because I haven't paid for the game yet. Kind of a neat concept because this game is completely free, and you can, if you pay the money, of course, you can get more characters, but if you just want to play with it, you can do that. So, but the load times, oh yeah. So here we go, we're loading, and I would play a song or something, but I don't have one to play, so we'll just let this thing load up real quick. And once it does load, it's fine, and you can see the graphics are really nice. And I think what defines this is that you've got better lighting effects, a lot more smooth motion. This is definitely an upgrade in hardware. So the graphics are going to look a lot more realistic, or as realistic as a whatever that thing is it looks. But you'll have a lot more detail in the characters and stuff, and it really, just look at the background. It's really impressive. So I'm not disappointed here by any stretch. It's just that it feels very bare bones at the moment. So now what you can do on this thing is while you're playing a game, you can go ahead on your controller and just hit the center button here, and what that does is pops you out to a menu, and when you get back to the menu, you can do some other stuff. So you can load up some apps and some other things, but if you were to load up another game, it actually kills the game that's running. So that was an issue because I wasn't far into one of these things, but if I wanted to load up Dead Rising now, you're kind of under the impression that if you load up, like, for example, the Skype app or something, you can come back to this and it'll be right where you left off or on the TV thing. But if you load another game, it just overwrites it. So it just kills the other game completely. It doesn't really tell you that it's doing that. So it'd be nice if it gave you a little bit of a warning when it does go into that mode. So we're just going to load up Dead Rising 3 real quick, and it just takes a long time for it to load up here. And what I also found is that when you get the games, you've got to install them onto the hard drive first. Well, the console does that for you. You put the game in, and then it's going to run through this process where it copies everything to the hard drive. The hard drive on board is only 500 gigabytes. The games can be in upwards of like 25 or 50 gigabytes because they are on Blu-ray discs. You can also download them directly from the Microsoft Store, but if you have bandwidth limitations on your internet connection, you might want to be careful about that before the kids start downloading all their games on there. And you can see here, as we're talking, we are still waiting for this to load. And I think this is something that will improve with time, but right now these load times are pretty long. So we'll hit the A button here to get into the game, and I think what I'll do is actually start in story mode. I'm not going to play the whole game here because I want you to see what it looks like here, but we'll do, see, I'm really a bad player here, so let me pick my mode here. I'm going to do casual because I rarely have time to play these things. So I'm brought to another loading screen. And I think now this game, by the way, is Dead Rising 3. It was designed for the Xbox One. A lot of the games out there right now were written for the older consoles, so like the Xbox 360 and the PS3. We're still loading. The Xbox 360 and the PS3, but the Xbox One versions were kind of ported over. This one is actually a Xbox One exclusive title, so it's using the hardware to the best of its ability there. So. But you can get a sense as to the graphics here. They do look better, but again, it's not the big difference between I remember going from like the old Nintendo to the Super Nintendo and the old Sega to the Sega Genesis. Those were big jumps. This feels more evolutionary. And I think the jump from the Xbox to the Xbox 360 felt a little bit more significant than this does. And again, I think this might be also due to the fact that people haven't really made use of the hardware yet. There hasn't been a lot of time for developers to work on this platform. What's nice about this and the PlayStation 4 is that they are both running PC hardware. In fact, they're running pretty much the same chips. The PlayStation 4 arguably is a little bit faster than the Xbox One, but the Xbox One selling point is that it does more than just play games. So it might be more of a full household kind of thing. So we'll take a look. Now, what you're watching here is kind of the opening salvo of the game here, and this is all rendering now in real time. So this isn't some video that's being played. This is actually what the console looks like, and we'll just kind of skip ahead here. And I'm back to this gray area I was looking at before. So this really doesn't show off the system too well, but you get a sense as to what the graphics are looking like, and it's pretty good. But again, I think you can. Unless you're in a real hurry to have the latest and greatest, I think you could probably safely wait on getting yourself an Xbox One. We went into more detail on all of this in our live thing, so you can check that out and kind of skip around and see if there's anything of interest as it's being played along. And leave me a comment too. I'd love to, I'm happy to just kind of walk through things with you if you have specific questions about how it works and how to use it. But overall, I am underwhelmed at the moment, and I don't think, again, it's any fault of the hardware. It's just that, it just doesn't feel rushed, but it feels like they got the minimum ready and then pushed it out in order to make the holiday deadline. I think as they update the software over time, we're going to see a lot more with this thing. So I'll keep playing with it. I'll tell you what I think. But you know what? If you're, let's face it, you have a kid who really wants this thing for the holidays, you're not going to have much of a choice. But I think if you do have a choice, if you can't get one right away, I don't think you're missing much. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.